Hello there, welcome back to the Inner Sanctum, the place where I show you all my tricks, but pull them off live right in front of you. Today we're gonna be coming back to Harrison Mixbus, the place where we decided to mix this mess of a song. It's actually getting somewhere very nicely. And Robbie, good to have you here. Awesome to be together for this mix. And if you find the sound of my voice being weirder than usual, even worse than usual, it's because I'm under the weather. I'm going through a particular strain of how could you call it, like annoying virus. It has a little bit of diarrhea involved. Isn't that the case, the Stone and Brave? I said
I think this is the kind of stuff that they call, I think, oversharing.
Oversharing.
Yeah, we don't need the details.
Okay, so whatever. I'm trying to be personal. I'm trying to get close to the audience. But enough of my direct past. Let's focus on my direct future. Okay. So with that being said, let's get into it. Welcome back to Harrison Mixbus. In front of us, we got the project that we're gonna keep rocking for the mixing of this project. As usual, we're gonna be start off this particular session with, of course, listening to the track as it is from the start to finish, so we can develop our own opinions, which more than likely will be destructive. So here we go from the beginning. Okay, what do you think?
All right, so let's say first an general overview and then some specifics.
Yes.
I think generally speaking, the track is sounding pretty good.
Mm.
I actually think it's now thinking on it on a more conceptual level. I think it's delivering or already starting to deliver what it set out to deliver.
Yes.
The whole thing that the whole conversation we had when it was still kind of in the pre-production stages, kind of like the idea of going a little bit more party-like in the beginning of the song, unveiling a darker element around the middle, and then mixing both, but keeping the dark vibe near the end. It already delivers that. So I think that's a good showcase of the progression of the whole thing.
Okay.
Of course, there's still plenty of things that need to be addressed. I think that those drums at the end, they're feeling kind of underwhelming.
Yeah, the big ones.
The big ones, yeah,
Yes.
they're not that big
Yeah.
right now. Also, of course, some of the voices also need to be addressed because there are plenty of instances of voices. Some have been addressed, some haven't,
Yeah.
and at some points they show.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with everything you said, but I have a particular gripe with the track. When there was a bit of a drop of volume during for the vocals, when the vocals kicked in, I don't know if it was visible to you over there or through the internet, but I had to lean over the rack. The thing is that one of the many beauties of rocking analog stuff is that if you turn it on and you don't use it for a while, they go to sleep. That's what happened. That's why the vocals were super quiet when they began, when the singing begins, and I had to go there, twist a few knobs, and all of a sudden we got them back. It's usually like that. That's annoying. But that led me to this discovery. I, for whatever reason, kept the dry sound of the Moog synthesizer, which is playing the main arpeggiator, is still being fed to the output of the analog summing rig that is used by the vocals, because originally speaking I had this guy going that way. Is it a bad thing? Not necessarily speaking. But is it a good thing? Not necessarily speaking. Why? Right now we are using that particular output to mix the vocals. So in the chain we got going out of the Mixbus environment, and we hit a compressor, an LA2A style compressor, an optical compressor, physical, and then we're hitting an EQ, which is I tried an EQ, beautiful sounding. That's why we already got this kind of already very controlled sound on the vocals, even though we had to work a lot on the vocals because there were a little bit of fluctuations, to say the least, when it comes to the dynamics that were addressed last week. Now I want to push my leads, that particular Moog sound, a bit louder in the mix, and if I have it there, I will compress even further. And since the vocals are the loudest signal right now in this bus, if I push this guy upwards or make it louder, the compressor will be triggered differently. You start to see the problem?
Yeah.
I might ruin the mix of the vocals just by pushing this guy louder, because we're summing we're right now sending all of these sounds to the same compressor. It's the same what happens when you mix. Right now we're actually mixing to a master bus compressor, and most of my stuff is being compressed slightly in the way in or in the way out, basically speaking. So even since the beginning, we've been mixing to compression, and that's why right away, as soon as we begin pushing faders, we got a sound. I'm gonna switch, because right now we're using the lead output that is feeding that guy. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna send the lead tone to my music out. That means that I'm gonna be bypassing the output of the lead from hitting the compressor, and that output doesn't have any form of analog devices in the way in. Sorry. It's actually hardwired to a EQ that I got here, one of my ultraviolets. There's an ultraviolet, but since we're mixing everything, trying to do as much as possible in the box, this being Mixbus, I decided not to use it for this mix, and I'm not gonna start using it today. Why? We're way too in, okay? So this is not gonna affect anything other than the output. And since we don't have a compressor now, I will be able to find a better spot for it. So let's go to the edit environment, and the Moog begins here. So we're gonna start to mess around with it. Pay attention to the sound of the moog. Let me make sure that it's visible to you. Here is. It's the one that is lit up. So let me find it here. Here we go. It immediately feels bigger, right?
Yeah.
Because now that I'm not compressing so much this sound, I could push the trim even further. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of drive to it because I think it's gonna be benefited by it, and also I'm gonna compress. We're gonna begin applying all sorts of EQ and stuff to this sound. These two sounds, because remember that when we produce this track, we produce this particular sound by merging or creating this kind of wet dry setup in which I have the moog coming in direct, and then the micro pitch pedal, this guy over here, as a stereo input, having this cool ass delayed octave thing. It's arpeggiator. What arpeggiator? Harmonizer. Okay, so let's do it. I'm gonna begin by applying the distortion to this guy. I don't know if you could read my lips, but I think it was quite obvious. Could you hear the difference?
Yeah, it's more penetrating. The sound is
Look
more
at that!
projected.
Like penetrating cabinets
Yeah.
and government institutions across the world. Or
Of
is
course.
that what you're implying?
Yes, I
Kind of like a World Economic Forum. Of course not. He's talking about music. He's going through it. And the way it works, let me explain. First, remember that we're working right now with a signal that is coming through the center. Okay, this is basically our lead sound. That's why, or when I began distributing my sounds across my summing buses, I decided to send this guy through the lead. But then I remembered later on that we got actual vocals. Okay, and those vocals are actually the ones that will take the best benefit out of using the analog circuit. So I decided, so you know what? Let's save that for vocals. And let's move that back to the music. I didn't remember that I have it still set for the lead. Don't think it's going to change anything, because when we were playing the track back and you saw me swapping the output of this guy from where it is right now to the music bus, and then now straight into the music bus, nothing wrong happened to the vocals, so that's good. Now, what happens here? First, I applied the distortion. Okay, I turn it on. It was very subtle because this sound is it's an arpeggiator, but also has plenty of envelope. So it's very slow attack and stuff like that, right? So it's not gonna make it pointy. But then I realized that at certain points, due to the nature of the performance of the Moog synthesizer being worked on while the track was playing, there were moments on which the volume actually became a little bit too loud, a little bit unruly. So I needed to apply some compression. The thing is this. If I went too berserk on the compression, I could make it audible. And you're saying, isn't that the point of you adding the compressor? No and yes. Why? Because my plan for this compressor was to just control tame the spikes without destroying the transient driven sound of the Moog. So I went for a slow attack. Look at this. Slow and uber fast release. The fastest I could get. Why? Not because I want to remind some of you who might. I'm going to stop there. Related to their wives being not pleased. If you know what I mean. Being fast, get it? Okay, wherever. No,
You got it.
because the idea is to just just squash, but as soon as it squash the information, release it. Just catching up the offensive sounds. You can see that my threshold is a little bit generous, but I went a little bit bananas on the ratio. Also, I worked on the emphasis knob because whatever it does, it always delivers, particularly for this kind of sounds. I don't know exactly, and I remember that one of the guys from Mixbus in one of the live streams explained to us what it actually does. But I don't remember.
Yeah, me neither. Robbie might know.
Yeah, Roy might know. But only that. Now, should I apply a little bit of extra gain? I don't know, because we're just barely touching, gently applying the compression. I will like to try now a different compressor mode while the track's playing without changing any of the parameters, because each of them, you go up to 3 in this guy, it becomes a little bit more aggressive. So let's see. Lever is working beautiful, but let's see if compressor works better. I'm going to get us closer to the action. Allegedly. Let me see exactly where the action takes place. Here. There we go. Okay, I'm kind of in between two places right now, in two minds, because, and this is kind of contradictory. I liked Leveler, which is the gentlest, the least aggressive take on the compression, but I also liked the Limiter, which is the most aggressive take on the compressor. What do you think? Regarding the question, Robbie, we are asking if you remember what in the name of F does emphasis. The emphasis knob does on the compressor. I think it adds a little bit of an extra layer of harmonics, because I remember that I don't know if it was what's his name? I think it's Brian. Showed up in one of the live streams and he explained to us what it actually does. But whatever, coming back to you, Theo.
So it is a weird take, the fact that you like the more gentle and the most aggressive, but I kind of get it, because I think it's not just because of the compression. The limiter actually added,
right? Is the grit?
Yeah, it added something.
Yeah.
Outside of just taming the sound.
Yeah.
But I think, in my opinion, I think it was a little bit too much. I preferred with the leveler.
Yeah, the thing is that in that case, it could be a matter of simply lowering the ratio or opening up the threshold a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah, so that's the issue. So let's try it out. I'm gonna dock the threshold in this one rather than moving the ratio, and I'm gonna try to get us closer to the action, because at the beginning it's very lame, it's very tame.
Yeah, I think since you used the Moog to do the noise generating thing, you did what's the name of that? The riser.
The
Moog.
The riser, yes.
So that's why the beginning of that region is the risers, not the lead.
Mm-hmm, exactly. So let's see. I'm gonna go straight to that one. Let's see. I'm gonna open up the threshold. think that's the one.
Yeah, sounds good.
Feels very, very contained, right? But not unruly. Here, Rob is coming back with the emphasis thing. He's saying that for him, the emphasis means that you target the compression based on the emphasis of frequencies. Robbie, I gotta tell you that I don't understand exactly. If you can elaborate more, because I truly don't know exactly what you're saying with that one. So, while Robbie comes back to us, let's see. I like it what it is now. I want to try out now the micro pitch, which is the second half of the sound. Should I apply compression? Let's see. I might first apply the drive, and you see that there was a bit of action, but it's because turning on the drive knob. Because maybe I might add a little bit more aggression to this one. I might even send it, or you know what? I'm not going to use the drive in this one. We're going to insert the plugin first to this bad boy, which is this. I'm going to go to insert plugin, please. Popularity, no, because look at the popular, nothing. Okay, let's go for it. Now I'm going to go for, what's the name of those guys? Plugin Alliance? No, Sound Toys. Sound Toys, and I will go for Radiator. And I'm going to put it, of course, at the very beginning of the chain. This guy is very stupidly simple. It's just more is more, less is less. And that's it, basically speaking. Yeah, this is just gonna add grit to the sound of the micro pitch, okay? But we gotta be aware of there might be a little bit of an extra bump in volume, so I'm gonna be using my fader here. One thing also, this guy is basically speaking a preamp like of thing, okay? Because as the name implies over here, it is. And it's gonna add a little of extra grit. Very important for music, because you do mix to distortion. Here we go.
Okay.
How about that?
I like it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I went a little bit overboard. I know. But we are going to use this to taste and also. Let's try it again. But we're going to be playing with the mix knob. So we can be a little bit more bananas on this bad boy. But also bring it back the voice home. Pink Floyd reference. Okay, here Robbie is coming back to us. The emphasis knob, besides emphasizing on the emphasis of the frequencies, here he says that knob has frequencies that you dial in, so that compression compresses the target. Okay, that makes less sense. It makes a little bit more sense. No, but I can see what. Yeah, it's just pushing certain frequencies to be the ones that the compressor circuit will be actually seeing first.
Okay.
That's why it actually adds this extra layer of grit. Makes sense. Yeah, okay. So let's play around with the mix knob. Here we go. I'm going to be going berserk, and then I'm going to use the dry and wet signals. That's great.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, well, what's wrong with you? Okay, now let's blend it to taste into the music. All the way down. Here we go. Did you? Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Just like that. That was beautiful. Now I'm gonna put the compressor right after this guy, the radiator thing. Okay. So compressor. Should we copy? Yes. So I'm lazy. Let's try to mimic what I did on the other guy, because this is actually based on the other guy. I'm gonna put more emphasis. Why? Because I mean it. Get it? Emphasis. I'm trying to be entertaining, goddammit. Let's see what happens. Sorry, that was horrendous. I apologize. That was freaking horrible. Why? The radiator makes the whole thing more exciting, so it was compressing faster than light. Not a good thing. Okay, so let's do it again. I'm gonna open up even more my attack, and now we're gonna be doing 2 tastes. That's way better. I'm gonna take us back a few hours. Pay attention to this. If we go too hard on it, you will start to lose the back and forth. Everything's gonna sound kind of like a pad rather than an actual ping pong thing. And we're using, this is music theory kicking in. The role of this particular sound is both harmonic and percussive. Because having this kind of quasi interaction, this kind of ping pong like thing going, allows for the track to be more engaging rhythmically speaking. Because for whatever reason, our brain is reading this guy as both melodic and harmonic. Because in reality it is, but we pay more attention to the interaction rather than the harmony.
Mm-hmm.
If we even out each of the hits or each of the tones notes being played by this arpeggiated, not arpeggiated, this sequence, we start to lose plenty of the motion. And since we're rocking very robotic drums, this kind of emphasis on having different, slightly different rhythms playing at the same time keeps the whole thing entertaining. Make sense? Because
Yes.
our human brain is trying to understand which one is the lead rhythm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels a little bit more complex, more
It's more complex because in a way it's kind of like a polymeter without being an actual polymeter, okay? Now, if I compress too much, we lose that. So let's listen to it now from this perspective. I went back to the limiter rather than the leveler, sorry. I went back to the leveler rather than the limiter because it was way too much with the limiter. And let's see now. That's it. Could you feel it?
Yes,
Could you hear it?
I could hear it.
Did you like it?
I did like it.
That's the spirit. Okay, look. Now, what if we apply a little bit of reverb to it? What? Reverb to the delay? Of course. Because why not? I'm going to try to make an ambience out of this guy. So, I'm going to turn on the sense. No, we're not going to be using these guys. We're going to be using the ugly sense. Now, the ones that we use for this. Which one to use? Good question. Because we already have a plenty. I think I feel like a plate would be very good for this guy. I'm gonna keep it post fader. Maybe pre fader. Because if we do some form of automation, it could be cool having just the ambience.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say I'm gonna begin applying this guy. Oh, yes. Wrong. Wrong button. This is the one.
Wrong.
Yeah, perfect. So let's do it.
Yes.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it beautiful?
It
Isn't
is.
she lovely? Now let me show you which fader, which plate river we're using because I don't even know. Where's my plate? Plate here is. We're using, of course, super plate. Super good. Yeah, sound toys again. Very, very good plate river. Totally recommended. Could you believe that this was free?
For real?
Yeah.
Alright.
Last year it was free. And I ruined the sound here. Mixbus has to deal with this. The thing is that you can control this, the sense with the scroll wheel, which I happen not to have. And right now, since you scroll through the project, since I was scrolling, I hover over this thing, this scent, with my mouse, so it ruined the scent. Not good, man. You should either force your user to go here, where you cannot F up anything, look at this, or stop. Why? Because I don't want to, if you let me do this, I will eventually, such as you saw here.
Yeah.
And this is fix it, please, guys. Again, you know that I love you, but this is you could potentially ruin my mix. I don't know. I'm kind of pissed. Let's see. Hopefully, thankfully, it was just the send to the reverb vocals. So we'll address later. But again, very bad move. Okay, let's see. Listen to it because look, I'm already doing it. In the area where I shouldn't. And also, this applies to this. Look at the panning. Look. Tell me if that's not gonna make for a great mistake. Very wrong. And also applies to the faders, mind you.
So anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I have to be very mindful where I actually scroll. The only safe space to do it is either here, or the top, or even down here. How often is your mouse down here? Never. How often is it over here? Never. It's usually in this area. You should remove the chances for me to have fought by accident because my mind is not thinking on where to put my mouse, it's where to put my sounds. So please deal with that, guys. Okay. Tough but fair. And with love. Okay. Maybe from Russia. Okay. Let's continue. Okay, let's see. Sounds great already. And now let's begin applying EQ to the synths. I will apply very little EQ, and I'm gonna keep my compressor after my EQ on the dry signal. Why? Because it's already doing what I want it to do, and maybe I'm just gonna use the EQ to clean up because it's already cutting through the mix. Let's see. First, EQs. Let's check the low pass filter because it's important to do it when there is nothing to gain out of this sound. Let's see. Already good, right?
Yep.
Now let's add a little bit of extra air to it, but let's see, because maybe a little bit of removal of fat on the mid-range could be very good. So let's try that out. I'm gonna be using this guy, the low band, and I'm gonna chase for the ghosts. So I'm gonna crank up the gain on this guy, and I should be using this is much more better. Thank you. So we're gonna be rocking the lows. Am I serious right now? Yes, this is the, where am I? In a second. Another thing that I don't like about this, the integration could be better. No, it's actually correct. So why did I get distracted? Whatever. Don't know. Mode dry. Good. So let's turn this off. Yeah, there is. Perfect. So here we go. I'm gonna crank this guy up and I'm gonna be sweeping around the thickness range. Here we go. This is the tricky part with a sound like this. Since you're dealing with an already with a synthesizer, the sounds coming out of it are very much dependent on which frequencies are being pushed. You saw that it wasn't ugly even when I pushed it. Usually when we're dealing with, for example, a kick drum, it will be like honky, right? But in this case, it actually sounded cool. It was a sound. This is when you have to do it in context. I'm gonna begin cutting because I think we got an extra layer of on that region, but a tiny one. And also remember that I applied that with the compressor in the front, so probably the compressor was already blasting the boosted signal. But still, it wasn't a bad sound. Okay, so let's see. Could you hear the difference?
No, it's a lot better actually.
Like night and day, right?
Yeah.
Look at that. No wheels. Okay. And now let's see if we can improve a little bit more. I'm gonna now add a little bit of extra attack to the sound. I'm gonna make it more aggressive. I'm gonna be hitting the mid highs, this area over here. Where maybe here? No, probably it could be there. And I'm gonna be pushing just a little bit because again we're mixing to the compressor applied to this guy. Okay. Better.
Yeah.
Way better. And now we'll do the same to the highs. And this guy, maybe, yeah, a 5,000-ish. Let's add a little bit of air. Again, since we're mixing to the compressor, we are gonna have to just be doing gentle pushes because I am using the compressor to boost out wherever I push.
Yep.
Does that make sense to you or not?
It does. It does.
It's the same principle as mixing to a master bus compressor, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And remember that even though I compressed in a very intense fashion, let me show you the compressor again. We are rocking, we're barely touching the output of this guy, right? The compression. So let's do it. Here we go. Give me your take, Theo. Could you feel the difference?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
and
very
actually-
notorious. It's very notorious.
It is because it changed even a little bit of the presentation for the sound is slightly different.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more. It's not even aggressive, but it's more pinpointed, and by
But
the very nature of the sound.
Aggression is not a bad way to describe it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's now a little bit more face fronting, right? It's actually cutting through better.
Yeah, and being the lead is actually changing even a little bit the character of the track itself on that section.
It's making
the
it shine.
track is feeling more aggressive as well.
Yep. Now let's do something similar, but to the sides, the micro pitch stuff, right? The delay. I'm gonna. This guy is gonna be very benefited of cutting a little bit of the signal here. So I'm gonna do it. So let's begin. Why? Because we're sending it to a reverb, and the reverb is basically reverberating everything coming in. So if we remove a little bit more of the low end from this guy, because even though it's mostly attacking the higher end, there is a little bit of rumble being created, and that rumble is actually just getting in the way of the kick and the bass. So let's do it. Very good. Bet. I think it has to be better. And how can we make it better? Well, like youth, we're gonna take some. No, we're gonna actually cut the living stuff out of the highs. What? Easy answer. Because by cutting some of the highs on the delay, we're gonna make it a little bit more feel part of the background. Got it?
Yeah.
So here we go. I'm not gonna go that aggressive, but I'm gonna begin by cutting the living stuff out of it and open it up until we find sweet spot, okay? Way better, isn't it?
It is. And I found it weird that you wanted to make it less defined to a way, but I get the point now of sending it a little bit further to the backdrop so that the main lead, the center lead, can actually feel more leady.
Yeah, it's once again
Yeah.
understanding the role of the sounds. Just because you like a sound doesn't mean that it has to be at the forefront. Very important concept to understand, because when we're mixing, especially when you are the one behind the production of a track, and then you end up mixing it, which is what I recommend everybody to do, if you know how to do it, of course. We can be very prone to falling in love with certain elements of our song or our mix. In this case, this is a very cool sound. But if we have it way too loud or way too present in the mix, it feels overbearingly in your face, right? It's kind of distracting. So this is why it's very important to understand the principle behind each of the orchestration. In this case, this is basic orchestration, even though we're dealing with an effect. The way I see it is that every single sound that is coming out of the speakers are part of the orchestration, regardless of them being effects, regardless of them being instruments or even sound bites just for sound effects purposes, right? They are still part of the orchestration. And the interaction between all of those elements is what makes them musical and professionally presented. Make sense?
Yeah.
Allegedly. Thank you. Good. Okay, let's go. Then, I'm going to be then turning on the EQ because it was off, just the filters were on. And let's remove a little bit of the mid-range because once again my muscle memory is already moving my mouse over there and I was this close from hitting this section on the board. Why? Because the same issues are present in this guy that were present in the dry. So let's look for them. There is a little bit of an extra bump of the low mids, and I'm gonna be using this guy again because that way we can actually have access to the other bands for boosting the mids. Okay, so let's see. I think it's gonna be once again somewhere around the same area as the other guy, maybe in between these two. Here we go. Could you hear the difference?
Yeah, a little bit more subtle, but yeah, it's a little bit more
this
present
wasn't.
as well.
Yeah, this wasn't meant to be a game changer.
Yeah.
But it was just cleaning up the stereo field. This is not. Look, how to listen to this guy? Don't listen to the mix. Sorry, don't listen to the instrument. Listen to the mix. Okay, I'm gonna back it off once again to basically unity, and then I'm gonna cut it again, and you will feel. If you listen to the music, don't focus on the instrument because again you mix to the stereo sum or Atmos later on, but you mix to the sum of the parts, not to the part itself. Here we go. Could you hear it?
I can hear it.
Especially when the kick hits.
Yeah, yeah. Being very honest, I wouldn't be able to pinpoint and describe what I heard, but I noticed the difference.
That's what
It felt
matters.
different.
That's what matters. Man,
Yeah.
Because pinpointing means that you have spent more than a decade doing this professionally. So there is no shame in that one. Right?
I haven't.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you haven't because you have better decision making skills than I do. So that's why. But no, all jokes aside, yeah, it's the kind of stuff that what matters is you noticing it. Okay. As with everything in life, lately everybody's noticing. That's good. But 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 in this case, you start off. Yeah, once again, by noticing stuff, what is wrong with the world, what is wrong with this, the same applies here. And that's what is going to lead you to find the solution to the problem, okay? I knew that the issue was there in the lower mid-range, or basically the low end, low register of the sound. After, well, because I am someone who has developed the hearing, okay? And the kind of second nature, if that makes sense. Even when I'm listening to music outside of the studio, I always, sometimes I found myself trying to reach for my EQ. For real, because I can stand the sound of a particular sound or a particular place. Get me? Well, you have seen me.
Yeah.
It sounds like it sounds like gas. This is awful. yeah, but it's because you develop. I decided to turn myself into a miserable MFer by forcing myself to be very, very critical with my listening skills. That helps quite a lot in this business, but it ruins many things in your life. So you have to understand that you're gonna give stuff away in order to get. Look at that, how alchemical of me.
Yeah.
So, principle of equal exchange. Okay, now I'm gonna try to make. Even though I cut off the highs, I'm going to bring up the high mids of the sound because that's where the meat and potatoes is. But also I want to see if I can tame a little bit of that particular frequency. I don't know if you can hear it. And I don't know if it translated thoroughly when I whistle, so I apologize for that. But there is a particular the thing that this is actually going through the filter, the Moog, and I can hear the resonance point. And there are just like 2 or 3 times in which the resonance was a bit too high pitched, and it kind of gets in it pushes my wrong buttons.
Any chance that the ESR could be a good solution for this?
Actually, you're not wrong in that one. Look at you.
Who am I today?
I'm trying to come up with someone different. Joseph Jeff Puch. Yeah, exactly. No, actually, it could be. It could be because basically speaking, what you're looking for is a dynamic equalizer or a frequency-based compressor, which both of them could be ways to describe how a de-esser functions. let's deal with the EQ first, okay?
Okay.
So, I'm gonna be applying a little bit of that extra bump on the low mids. But look, this is important. I want to pay attention to this particular sound, or I'm looking for mix for boosting this particular register, because I want to cover this instrument in particular is covering the mid range of the track, particularly in this section. So if I cut more, it will feel weak and empty. It will feel scooped. Not good. But if I push it too much, it could be like from the Middle East. And you're nosing. Okay. I'm kind of edgy today.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it. Okay. But whatever. So let's see. It was a joke.
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't, what's your problem? It was in good faith. Here we go. Let's continue. I don't have to apologize for my jokes. So here we go. Let's try out
You have
first.
to apologize when they suck.
Yeah, when this, and I do.
Yeah.
I always do. So
That's actually true.
yeah, and since I usually suck at joking, yes. Here, Robbie, before I begin pressing buttons, here saying that yeah, these are good work, and that squealing frequency has been led with before, but I agree but I agree, getting on your nerves, on your nerves. Sorry. I gotta let you know that the screen is kind of far away from me, so whenever I try to read something out loud, it's kind of difficult because I gotta squint. I'm working on a better solution, but it's not gonna happen in this studio. Okay, now, yes, you're correct, because now that we're opening up the mix more, certain elements of the sound that are part of the mix are starting to pop up more than they should. So let's begin. I'm gonna first add a little bit more meat to the bones of the sound by working with my mids. Very much better, right?
Yeah. It became a little bit more robust.
Yes, but you'll see what happened. I actually cut the low mids. I did exactly what I didn't want to do. I cut the mids because when I hit that particular band, show them the screen, please, because I'm gonna focus on this. Look, my plan. Let me make sure. Yeah, this is the micro. Good. I wanted to boost this band first, okay? But as soon as I boosted, I hated what I heard. So I backed it off, and I overdid it slightly, and wait a second, it's better if I cut it. But of course, we lost presence, loudness, and actual overall mid-range in the whole track. So immediately I went to the band on top and started boosting. I originally started with hitting the 4-something thousand hertz, and I didn't like it necessarily speaking because that's where usually you'll find the attack on electric guitars, heavy electric guitars, okay, like the right, the definition of those, the shocks. But this is not close to the vicinity of those sounds, harmonically speaking, because this is far from that sound. But we are dealing with frequencies, okay?
Yeah.
So I thought that maybe that's where I could find some of those. No, it didn't work. So I started to swoop around and I found this particular frequency, and this is actually giving us a much better result. Still not happy with the sound of the squeal. Hero is saying that to his ears, the squealing frequencies should not be louder than the snare. But no, you're correct. I agree with you, man, because they should be there, but not that loud. I'm going to try one more thing before we start to bring up the big guns. I'm going to use the filter, because maybe now that we boosted the right frequencies that are part of this sound, by applying the filter and going more aggressive on it, we could be able to kill off the spikes of the squeal, because they're happening in the very higher register of this sound. Let's see if it works. Here we go. I don't know. I don't know because if look at me, I already have my hand on the fader because I want to believe that I could actually just push the fader up and bring up the sound. But what stopped me from doing it is that you're just gonna make what you don't like louder.
Yeah.
So there is one more thing to do. First, let me explain what is it that I don't like. What I don't like is I lost the aggression because at points it sounded like a cool effect that I could have done during the live performance. That filter, right?
Yeah,
On
yeah.
this effect sounds like an effect rather than actual punch to it, right? So or actual putting together the track. So I don't know. I want to try something else before I move over to a different approach. I'm gonna be using the high bands now, and I'm gonna try to compensate what I'm cutting from the filter with the high band. Maybe and just maybe we might bring back the sound. I'm gonna set it somewhere, yeah, probably 5,000 something, and we're gonna be pushing it. Here we go. Look at that! Kinda worked, didn't it?
It did, but I'm not.
Do you
fully
understand
sold.
how?
Because you push the highs again, right?
No, I cut him.
You cut highs.
I pushed them first, didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It sucked, monkey balls. So as a F it, I'm gonna cut. Just because out of frustration. Like, wait a second. It's kind of working. Because the high band is actually a shelving, so it's actually very gentle and kind of going all the way down to oblivion after the frequency point or the breaking point on which the frequency begins to be boosted. And by cutting, slightly, the higher register we're hitting, according to this thing, we're hitting 4,000. So it's the mid highs. And I am cutting very much 4 dBs. Sounds like a lot of nuts, but in reality it's not that much because we're hitting the very tail end of the sound. Most of the sound is taking place in between the 500, not even 200 hertz, all the way down to 3 to 4,000, right? So since this is a shelf, it's slightly fading away. It's not a filter. It just docks at the point of frequency, and then there is a gentle slump, and then it's flat from then onwards. It's very different from a filter. Now, after I realized that was kind of working, I went through the filter and opened it up to taste. As it is right now, I think that I feel daring, and I could open the filter a little bit more again. Let's see if it works. I like that. Did you?
Yeah, I think he hasn't returned the entirety of the aggression that you mentioned that was cut by removing some of the highs.
Yes.
But I think it's a good in between. It's keeping enough of the aggression and also removing a little bit of the problematic spikes of the highs.
But here's a moment in which bringing a second equalizer could work. Let's see. I'm gonna bring in another one. And for this, what could be good? Let's try the Pultec because obviously this is one of those moments in which those Pultec come to hand. Yes, give me the AP1. Here is in all its Pultec glory. Right after the Harrison EQ. Why? Because we're using the Harrison EQ to control, to design. We're gonna use the Pultec to boost. Okay. So we might be going berserk over here to the high end. We're going to be boosting, and this one again has that particular shape to it, okay? But having the attenuation as well could allow us to actually narrow down and create a proper shape that could work for this one. Let's see.
Like it?
Didn't you love it?
Yeah,
That
very
was excellent. Could you explain it?
The way I felt it, the sound regained a little bit of that extra bit of punch, and actually not only regained, it went beyond.
Yes, but
Yeah.
now without the squeakiness, right?
Yeah.
The squeal is no longer because it's part of the sound. We need that. But it was a bit too overbearing.
Yeah.
Now it's not so good. Now let's add a little bit of motion. And well, how can we do this? Let's add a little bit of a micro pitch or whatever I did to the one of my parallel sounds. Let's see. We're gonna be using the dimension D to the dry signal. Let's boost it on the sides to make it feel a bit more broader in scope, right? Let's do it. Here we go. Very good.
Yep.
Very good. And I feel stupid today, so how about if we send even a delay to delay? Yeah, it could work. It could work. Let's try this out. Again, I might use it later for automation, so I'm going to use it pre-fader. Here I was saying a dynamic EQ could work on a setting of upward compression on the frequency highlighted frequencies rising the gain. Yeah, totally. That could be also another option. Because what the plan is just to control the ones that are annoying and obnoxious rather than destroying the other ones. And a dynamic EQ could focus on those. The thing is that I decided to go the old school, harder route. Why? Because I happen to develop the taste for that more natural sounding way of mixing. Not because it's a superior way, simply because that's how I think. Get me? I might be kind of a retro inspired mixer, but I like my sounds to be everything I do kind of organic. Maybe because I grew up learning the craft on a computer using all sorts of plugins, and I am fed up with the fact of the mouse. I don't know. It could be. I'm not saying that it's the best way to do it. It's the one that works for me. But what Robbie suggests is very good as well. It's a very good approach. Now, let's take a look at this. Let's see if the stereo delay works, because I'm going to be applying the delay to delay, so we're going to be delaying the delays. Let's go. Here we go. What do you think?
I like it because it added to that aspect that you mentioned about this sound having a percussive element to it, and not a percussive but a kind of rhythmical element to it that is making the whole rhythm of the song feel a little bit more complex, and this added a little bit to it as well.
Yes, and look, let me show you this. There's the delay we're using. We're using the stereo delay. We're using the echo boy that we set up eons ago. It's giving us an 8 note repetition using the single echo. So it's basically just creating the tut at the same time. And this is kind of a guitar trick. I'm creating a cloud, if that makes sense to you. Using the repetitions, having a little repetition coming in to create that kind of a cloud surrounding the lead tone, which is the mono signal. Makes sense? We're making it more robust and adding this grooviness to the track. I hope it makes sense, because this is sound design for guitar player, coming from the guitar playing world. And as you can see, both, it helps when you know how to play an instrument, actually. Hero is saying, do I have the Kirchhoff EQ? No, I don't. I might have it, but I haven't installed it. Here I learned audio in analog studio. The dynamic EQ can be used before, and it could, of course, totally. And then if you want the so-called analog sound added, you can add it afterwards. It's been after it's been controlled. Yeah, dude, totally, totally. I just refer to that as me trying to emphasize the way that I emphasize my workflow is usually on the preserving as much as possible the original signal, if that makes sense. Because dynamic is, well, we have used it several times across this mix so far. For example, I have one right here. Look, I'm far from being afraid of it. The thing is that I always try to avoid having to go for those routes or following those routes as much as I can, because you learn to detect that sometimes fixing a problem in the most obvious fashion results in getting rid of most of what gives the sound its color and its vibe. Don't know if that makes sense. Because in earlier years of my career, I often went for the immediate solution. And I realized, or my experience showed me, that the easier path usually yields the results faster, but the experienced path gives you shows you that you should always use those more efficient tools as a last resort when something is not possible to be done in different ways, because those are more kind of so precise, so tough, so in the moment that you can actually you can remove a little bit of the spice. That happens often enough for me to always lean towards first the more laborious approach. But when I have to do it, I'll go straight to it. That's why when we bring in, for example, stuff like a split EQ or the Kirchhoff, because I think it's very similar to split EQ, or dynamics like the Brainworks dynamic EQ or stuff like that, I usually do it when I know that it's the only way. It's the only way. But it's experience. At this point, I think we got a very good sound. And also, am I fully sold to it? Yes and no. Because there is a good chance that since we have been working on this particular area of the track for an hour at this point, focusing on that particular sound, our hearing could be already fatigued. How? Look at that, not seen a fatiguing. But we could be fatigued already of that sound. And we might be either fooled by our ears out of boredom, tiredness, or simply put, we're still chasing shadows. And I'm not ruling out what Rob is suggesting. He might be correct. But at this stage, since I work so much on this particular sound right now, I wouldn't be able to make a decision. As it is, it works. But makes sense?
Yeah.
Because it's very, very, very problematic and dangerous to go outside without a sword. That was a Zelda reference. Okay. Now, I want to do something more, but I don't know if we would be able to do it, because it's basically the end. We're already past 5 minutes on, you know. Let me see what I can do before doing the analysis of the track. Let me see. No, I don't think so, because if I begin doing something, it's going to start off a new can of worms. So let's save this guy. Store. This is going to be group. And actually, even though group, wherever, you know what I meant. And actually, even though we worked on the micro pitch and the dry signal in this particular section of the track, all of the changes we did today will be presented across the entire track, because, as you can tell, the red line is actually working and messing around the entirety of the track. Mm-hmm. That's why I put so much emphasis on this particular sound, because this guy is actually the backbone of the song. It's always present. So it's almost like AI. It's omnipresent. In the future, of course. Mm-hmm. Allegedly. Okay, so we will be able to hear a huge difference. Today is going to be one of those, wow, light and day moments. So let's make sure that I store it again, just for the LOL store. Yes! Thank you very much. So, from the top. Okay, I gotta admit that this was a bigger change than I thought. Before I give you my text, Robbie here is making a very good comment, and I wanna point out that what he's saying. He's asking firstly, would it be a good idea to write out a list of positives slash negatives, because he fixed it later on, regarding the mix so far, but what needs to be fixed still musically before the many vocals and backing vocals. You are 100% correct, and that's something that I always do. Right now, my notepad, the one I use for that particular purpose, is being used somewhere else for dubious in a dubious way. But I do have plenty of notepads around me. I don't like to use the well. Don't get me wrong. I like to use the built-in note functions on many DOS, but I always like to have them here at the reach of my hand, so I can even have it always available to me. And if I move over to the rack or something, I can take it with me. Nothing beats pen and paper. And if you don't believe me, look at this. I even have ink and pens here, and not rubber pens, freaking fountain pens. I'm that old school. Okay, wherever. Now, let's begin with that. That's why I always like to begin these shows with having this kind of let's listen to the track as it is right now, and we finish off by listening to the track as it ended while comparing the beginning point. Here Robbie's asking, what do you both of us feel at this stage? Exactly what I was about to ask you, Theo.
Okay.
Please feel free to begin.
All right. So look, even in the beginning of today, that I already feel that the overall atmosphere, the overall feel of the song is already being delivered.
Yes.
We already got to a point to get into the more detailed work, and focusing on specific things. I think there's still quite a lot to be done when it comes to that, but I think the track is already feeling good. It's not feeling right yet.
Mm-hmm.
The work done today, it created the need for more work on some aspects, because the sound is better. The lead sound is smoother, but it's still retaining the aggression that makes it cool.
Yes.
But also it created the need to balance it out better on different points of the track, because you spend most of today working on the same part of the song of a sound that is very evolving.
Yes.
It changes quite dramatically at different points of the song. So it's gonna require a little bit more rebalancing, and more than likely automation.
Yes.
But
good point.
but I like it. I like what was done today. I like how that sound is presenting itself. It's a little bit smoother, but it's still delivering that kind of aggression that makes it cool. and the song overall is moving me already. I already feel that is making me move. Is delivering the emotion closer to the end of the song, the final section. I think there's still more work to be done.
Yes.
For it to feel correctly.
Good point.
But that's basically how I feel at this point in time.
Yeah. Now, before I move over to my own take, Robbie, please feel free to write down your text, because there is latency. So it's very difficult to keep up with what it's better for you to take advantage of of the moments when we were speaking to write down because that kind of usually compensates. Okay. First, last question. At what stage do you feel the mix is?
For me,
Or presently speaking, if 100% is finished, where are we?
um,
It's just water, by the way. Allegedly.
yeah, No, look, I feel that is still. This question should be framed a little bit more specifically for me to be able to answer.
Yeah.
Are you talking about
The
amount of
sounds.
hours for
No,
instance?
no. Because if I were to be working without a live stream, I would have finished this track in probably
Yeah.
an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But as it is, where do you find it?
Okay.
Would it be final cut or not?
Look, I feel that we're probably at 90% of the mix because most of the big stuff, no, 85, because let's consider the balancing for the voices and stuff like that still need to be addressed. But I feel all of the big stuff, most of the big stuff has been done. Since we already got to the detailed work part of the mix, I don't feel that there's a lot missing. But it's a very, the percentage doesn't necessarily correlate to the importance of those moves. Because even let's say it's 10% missing of the mix, but it's 10% that makes
would be the cherry.
exactly,
Got
and
you.
it can be like the thing that's gonna make or break the mix as being something remarkable.
Yeah, he Robbie's take is that he feels like the song is in between 60 and 70. I lean towards 70. So let me begin from there. I pick 70 because as it is right now, my main objective whenever I'm mixing, it's always to make sure that I stick to the sound of the vibe and the spirit of the track. I first gotta make sure that it makes me feel the way it should. And this track is doing it because I'm very glad that both of you concur with the same on the same point of it being already delivered in that area. That's good. That makes sense. That means that the work done on it is already doing its stuff. Now, the thing is this: from my perspective, there are many things. This is very layered, and my technical brain is telling me that this is not finished, and it is far from it. But my musical brain is telling me it's already doing its thing. So you gotta, as a mixer, you gotta find yourself. You gotta develop that understanding where is too much and where is too little when it comes to keep adding stuff to this. Because I don't know if you noticed, while the track was playing, I realized that even though the starting point of this mix, that particular sound that we worked so much on, was way too abrasive, super loud, kind on top of everything. There was a quality to it that I liked when I was doing the switching. Let me show you. These guys, the micro pitch and the Moog dry, were almost like this, like in here, way quieter than they are right now. Because and also you saw that I was actually moving and messing around with the EQs. I worked on this guy. I opened up the filter, and then I even brought back the Pultec and docked down a little bit of the attenuation. Why? Because one thing that I liked about the sound of these guys before going bananas on them is the aggressive tone to it. They had a little bit of this bitey element to it that was awesome. That's why I put the radiator on the micro. And thanks to the use of the reference track, I could see that. Oh, wait a second! I kind of overdid my cutting, and this brings back the conversation we had about the dynamic EQ. Probably, since I want to preserve that aggression, I'm gonna keep my signal pad as it is, but I will next week potentially apply the dynamic EQ so I can just squish a little bit of that squeakiness, because it might be that I'm tired of it and right now I feel it like it's really in my ears, and the same happens to every single one of you watching right now because we spend the same time on it, focus on it. But this would be one of those ones on which I take a break do a round. I don't know. We'll out, have a good walk, a deep look in the mirror, something like that, questioning why am I doing what I'm doing. But yeah, you get me. And then come back with fresh ears and see if what you think is incorrect or correct. Now, from a musical perspective, there are plenty of things that I haven't touched. Most of them I haven't touched. For example, all of the vocals, all of the different sound effects, none of the big ass toms and drums are part of the later parts of the track. And Robbie, I know that you're writing, so I'm letting you finish. uh, all of those are still missing. I haven't worked on the aggression of the second half because up until this point, most of what we have worked on was the first half of the track. We haven't worked that much on the second half, which is very different tonally and emotionally speaking. It's much more aggressive sounding.
And orchestration as
on
well.
orchestration, it has a completely different orchestration. But everything has been done on the auspices of considering those as being part of the sound. Once I did this, I feel very confident on me being able to move over to that section. So I'm going to be working on those. And most of what is still missing is going to be addressed. Now, let me take a look at what Robbie has been saying for a while. So, look, he says, the reason I say this is because the song became a vocal song, and that's missing. Also, that are not hitting me correctly yet. The beginning party noise, the repeated party noise when she says stop fighting. I don't like the fact halfway through the song, which was the vocal expression morph, which I feel doesn't belong in the song. The vocals are not balanced, and the backward vocals need to be improved. As Theo said, the drums at the end are really lost. The tonal balance to me is more polished, etc. That's why, yeah, no, totally. Look, we can concur on that one as well. Because in reality, I haven't touched those. We haven't done anything on those sounds yet. Far from it, because what I did is this. I divided, and this is going to be a little bit more technical and workflow oriented, okay? This is an extremely layered track. Look at the amount of tracks. And this is actually me being conscious of the track count while producing. So I try to sum up some of the sounds. Still, we got a huge amount of sounds taking place. Extremely intricate and also very dependent to each other. So the way I my strategy for this mix has been the following. First, I made sure that my gain stage was presented correctly. That's why we have been vibing to the track since the beginning, because the entirety of the song sounds the way it should. All of the instruments are present, but you can see that the major complaint is the fact that it's not there yet. Why? Because once I got a properly sounding and balanced mix, the objective is first defining the spots in which, or the sounds that are actually defining the character of the song. In this case, we worked on the kick because this being kind of electronic based instrument, sounding track, at least the beginning, the kick and the low end are super important. So we worked on those extensively. Then, today's, for example, I hit the most consistent instrument of the track. Is the one that, besides the bass and the kick, is present across the entirety of the mix. And Robbie here is saying, would you not consider a slight gain stage again? Yeah, no, totally, man. Because now that I never stop at the first gain stage. Whenever I'm mixing, and whenever you're EQing, applying compression and stuff, you start to create a new parameter or a new set of rules for the track, which means that your gain stage could and will, it's not a matter of potentiality, it will happen. Your gain stage that you started off with is no longer as viable as before. What do we mean by that? You saw that some of the instruments are now popping after what we did today. And we only work on one instrument, 2 sounds to be precise. That means that some of the stuff that was kind of buried is now more audible, but at the same time, it could mean that some of the stuff that was barely audible is no longer audible because it's masked out by one of the instruments that popped thanks to the EQing. So I will have to readdress. For example, all of the sound effects, I just keep them, all of these, look, every single one of these tracks, basically starting from maybe Rise all the way down to phrase haven't been touched. Not even fader wise. Once I put them there, I have been ignoring them for this particular reason. They are, I look at them as sound effects. They should be there to shine when they are needed. So first I gotta make sure that my bass, the entirety of the orchestration, the entirety of what makes the sound of the song feel the way it does, is stable. It gives me confidence to push in the rest of the stuff in. I will bring them in. Otherwise, it could be too early. This is a matter of patience, if that makes sense to you. Again, the fact that I'm doing it in this fashion, like explaining all my moves and stuff, it stopped me from being that aggressive and fast. I know that we have discussed the idea of having a show in which I don't talk and go straight to it and finish off the probably. I will finish the track, but it would be very close to the end if I go straight to it. I don't know how to do it in a way that it's actually interesting and entertaining, because just like I don't even talk. I usually do it in a way that is way too aggressive, like moving and working on the template most of the time. So here we're saying it will be interesting to listen to the first game stage. Yes, it will be. Let's do it next week, because you'll see that there are some things that I have to do with the output on your end. That's why we don't do it today. We won't do it today, because we had some issues with the output during the beginning of this live stream. It was way too quiet on your end. Nothing here. We have no issues here, but the issues that they sent over there through the streaming system was a bit too quiet, and I don't want to blast your ear. So that's one thing. That this song has developed so much that I think it would be all like to make it the best possible it can be. I really like the collaboration, and the song moves me along with Circuit. Yeah, man, I can see you're passionate about it, man, and that's something that I do respect. And the point, and look, if there is a way to define myself, is that I never f around. I truly go straight to the point and make sure that everything I do is done to the best possible. Because even these shows, I gotta admit that they are far from being lackluster in content. And I do, and sometimes we have even had this discussion several times, that one of the reasons why we're struggling with growth on YouTube is because we're providing way too much. We're not leaving room for questions, and people rarely ask anything.
Yeah.
And by principle, I don't like the idea of hiding stuff, because get me right. There is no point. So yeah, but we're not, Robbie. Next week, I'm gonna be addressing the other instruments. Again, this is just simply because this is actually is the densest mix we ever mixed in the show. Is the one that has the most layers and also the most complex harmonically speaking. Because again, this is also very important to keep in mind. I always say that a good mixing engineer should have a good understanding of music theory, and especially orchestration, because what you do with your faders, or this is basically probably the way I see it. My faders represent the hands of a conductor. I'm telling the instrumentation of my song, my orchestra, how loud they should be. Get me? And the intensity, the drama. And if I don't understand the role of each of the instruments in a mix, for me it would be loud and louder. And that makes the entire mixing process extremely tiresome, and you never get good results. So that would be my 2 cents. Think of it from that perspective. It helped me quite a lot when I began doing this. It allowed me to get better, because I understood the importance of knowing where to put a counter bassoon. Because if I use the French name, the Italian name, we go to jail. In English. It's a very beautiful name. Yeah, it's similar to cigarette. So wherever. But actually, the UK is not a problem.
No?
No, it's only in America.
No.
Isn't it, Robbie? The whole thing with cigarettes and the other word used, that for whatever reason is an euphemism for something else. But whatever. Yeah. So please do that. Spend some time and get some books regarding orchestration and learn a little bit of music theory. It's not going to hurt you. And also that will help you to develop a career also as a music producer, because now you can actually help other musicians to finish off ideas and tracks. So final comments, Theo, on your end.
No, I think we actually moved forward quite a lot. As Robbie pointed out, there's still plenty to be done. But you mentioned the whole thing about his passion for the project. I think we all have this kind of drive to see this to the fullest because the song actually surprised everybody. Because I think it started off being just an exploration of Bitwig because you wanted to use it as the showcase of how to produce music in Bitwig, but it ended up becoming a lot more than that, basically.
Yeah, once again, it's a mentality. Don't fuck around. I'm sorry for the French, but I don't give a damn. We're already way too deep into this, so I think we're not going to be affected by this. Yeah, because that mentality of going straight to the point and trying to get, if you get inspired, let it run, man.
Yeah.
Use them, use it, and take the most out of it. Here, Ruby says, I think the first stage episode in the future would work. Yeah, that's gonna be probably the next thing we will, just to see how far the mix has moved forward. You could share with Thiago. He could type basic bullet points and what you're doing. That could be potentially an idea. Yeah, because again, we're still developing this show. There are many moving parts that we iron out that you haven't seen on your end that we're getting in our way terribly. Right now it runs smoothly because we have spent countless hours getting this to work the way it does. Because as far as I know, we're probably the only ones who are doing this insanity live. And now that we got it kind of under control, it could be possible for us to actually have a roadmap. For example, just before we finished, one of the objectives of the last few this particular session is for me to have a plan before going live. That's why the tracks, the titles of the videos are already kind of hinting on what I'm gonna do. And I usually I'm trying to stick to a particular agenda, trying to show you stuff. The thing is that when working, you go somewhere else. So again, we're trying our best, and thank you, Robbie. I know that you're helping us with to make this channel a thing. Thank you very much, and I know that you appreciate what we do here as well.
Yeah, and we appreciate
your support. You don't know how much, for real. So yeah, make sure that we're gonna give our best every time we are here. Even look at me right now. I'm quite wrecked. Still, I'm doing it. I'm not that bad, but I don't feel that bad. But I know that I look like a piece of ass. So, with that being said, I take home because I'm out of cough. So, I'm being healthy. God damn, let me drink some water. Go ahead.
So, I hope you enjoyed the show. And for those of you who are new to the channel or just popping up for the first time, we do this on a weekly basis. If you into music production, mixing, all of this is the place for you. So subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, because like that you can be notified of whatever we do here.
That's the only way, actually.
Yeah, because subscribing apparently does nothing anymore.
It means nothing, like my words.
Yes.
So yeah, with that being said, as usual, the only thing left to remind you is that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about. And please rewatch this bad boy and come back to us with some hints, with some of your bootlet list. We can actually do that. How about that? We can give you homework. Next week, post your ideas or what do you think is missing on the track on the chat before I press play. So while the track's playing, I can read them and then we can share notes.
Okay.
That could be a potential. Let's see. It could be a fun interaction. I don't know if it would work.
Yep, let's try it out.
Let's try it out. So, I will see you when I see you. I gotta get some messing. See you around.